Alright, this short video is for the GCF practice number 2 for the blended algebra 2 class. I'm doing 3, 17, and 25 on this video. If you have questions on other problems, check the key on Canvas or ask your teacher for help. Alright, so I have 45y cubed minus 15y squared. I look at the numbers to see if there's a numerical GCF between 45 and 15. 15 actually goes into both of those numbers, so 15 is going to be the numerical part of your GCF. Remember, we divide out the GCF from each term, so we're going to write it underneath. When I look at the variables, they both have y's, so I take the lower of the two exponents on the y, which is y squared. That is the other part of your GCF. Factoring by GCF is the same thing as dividing. That's why we're going to divide each term. But first, I need to write the GCF out in front of a set of parentheses. Inside the parentheses is what I'm going to put when I divide. 45 divided by 15 is 3. Y squared divided by, or y cubed divided by y squared. When you divide exponents, you subtract them. So 3 minus 2 is 1. So I have 3y to the first. Negative 15 divided by 15 is 1, negative 1, and y squared divided by y squared is 1. So here's a case we haven't seen, at least in the videos, is that whenever you divide an entire quantity by itself, anything divided by itself is 1. Here it's negative 1 because there's a negative sign. So that's one thing to remember. It doesn't just cancel off and then not get written down. You have to put the placeholder of 1 when you divide a term by itself. But this is your final factored form, and then you're all set to go. Number 17, that looks like a big number. All right, so you need to look here and decide 36 and 108. What do those have in common? So you might have to pull out your calculator, do a little bit of work. Turns out they actually have 36 in common. So I'm going to divide 36 out of both terms. Now I look at the variables. Each term has an r. The r with the lower exponent is here, r to the first. So that's part of your GCF. And both terms have an s. Well, the lower exponent on the s is here, s squared. So you're going to pull an s squared out. Remember, you write your GCF in front, 36r(s squared), and then a set of parentheses for what you get when you divide. Well, just like the last problem on the video, look here. 36r(s squared) divided by 36r(s squared). Anytime I divide a value by itself, I get a 1. I have to put the 1 as the placeholder. Now on the right, negative 108 divided by 36 is actually negative 3. R squared divided by r to the first. 2 minus 1 is 1, so I have an r. And s cubed divided by s squared, 3 minus 2 is 1, so I have an s. So this is your fully factored form. Last one, the back, it looks really funky, but we'll check. Start with the numbers. I have a 2, a negative 1, a 5, and a positive 1. 2, 1, 5, 1. There's no number in common, so there's not going to be a number part of our GCF. So let's look at the letters. Let's look at the x's. I have x cubed, x squared, x, and x. They all have x's. The one with the smallest exponent is just plain x to the first. So we're going to make sure we divide x to the first out of every term. Now let's look at y's. I have y, y, y squared, and y cubed. They all have a y value, but y to the first is the smallest. So I'm going to divide y, xy, out of every term. Now when I divide xy out, the xy goes in front. Now let's be careful. 2, we don't have a number on the denominator, so I'll just have a 2 here. X cubed divided by x to the first, 3 minus 1 is 2, so I have 2x squared. The y's cancel off. Next, negative 1 doesn't change, so I'll have minus. I'll put a 1 there. You don't have to. You can just put a minus. X squared divided by x, 2 minus 1 is 1, so an x. Here the y's cancel again. Plus 5. Now here I have x over x, those x's cancel. The y squared divided by y to the first is just y. And here, plus 1 again. The x's cancel. Y cubed divided by y to the first is y squared. It's funky looking, but that's the right answer. Now, if you wanted to check, remember, you can do the opposite of dividing, which is distributing. So if I distributed here, xy times 2x squared would give you 2x cubed y. That's the same as what we had to start. This would give me negative x squared y, again, same as the term above. Distributing again, plus 5x y squared, same as above. And plus x y cubed, same as above. So when you distribute, you can check your work and see that you got the right answer. All right, that's the last video. If you need extra help, go ahead and check the key on Canvas or ask your teacher.